the magical, mysterious, possibly, life of Michael Jackson and how his Bazi Chinese astrology suggests the end of his life and the journey that led him there. Welcome. This is Lydia Griffith with the Feng Shui and Bazi Chinese Astrology channel. If you're interested in this type of astrology, please subscribe and follow so you don't miss a single video. I have many celebrity videos to read for you in the coming weeks, and I'm excited to unpack Michael Jackson. I actually filmed this one before and was just not happy with the outcome, and I wanted to make sure, you know, when you're doing these readings that you really want to honor not only the person, but the way that they died and some of the hardest parts of his life, right? I know that he was recently listed as being one of the celebrities on Epstein Island. He also, on the most unfortunate trial about whether or not he was behaving as a pedophile with children sleeping in his bed. And I just want to say before I go into his chart that I am not a judge. I'm not a jury. I'm, you know, looking at the contents of someone's astrology, regardless of their Michael Jackson or Bob Schmo down the street. So that's important to know that I don't come in with a slant or an opinion with any chart. Okay. So, and some charts do excite me more than others, mostly because there are some very unusual ones out there. And this is one of those charts. All right. So Michael Jackson was born August 29th, 1958 at 1830. And, you know, when I looked up the time, everyone had the same time, even though it's not the strongest. So, but in looking at this, I'm like, no, this feels very right, because he's born the year of a Yang Earth dog, the month of Yang Metal monkey, the day of Yang Earth tiger, and the hour of Yin Metal rooster. Of course, he's born in the hour of the rooster. Serious up. And it's double Yin Metal in his hour, which really speaks of, like, the first thing that came to mind was the glove, right? The sparkly glove that he used to wear. That is so Yin Metal. All the glam and glitz is Yin Metal. And the rooster is, they demand the stage. They have a great sense of style, and they definitely want to be seen and heard. They have a message. So for Michael Jackson, this is the perfect signature for his hour. And it speaks of all the energy that he put into his work, the genius, the intuitive genius, the sensing with music, and the rebelliousness of his work. I mean, just think of the album Thriller. There was nothing before or since that's been created that is like that, right? That is what he brought to his work, okay? Now, we look at his day, and your day pillar is you. That is your element and your animal. And when we look at this Yang Earth tiger, and his chart is I was surprised by how yang his chart is, which shows a strength and an assertiveness and a masculinity that I don't know that we really saw shown. Like, I don't know that he presented that. Maybe he didn't feel like he could. But as a tiger person, tiger people are magnetic, they're energetic, they have a childlike wonder about the world. Now, doesn't that sound like him? Like the whole thing with Neverland, that in of itself is very tiger-like energy. All right. And they're charming and dreamers and idealistic, very independent and passionate. But they can also be reckless. You know, there's a shadow side to all of our astrological animals. Rebellious, overly emotional, overly sensitive, um, and to a certain extent, naughty. Like, I'm going to do this even though this isn't what you want me to do, right? And when you look at how in a way he defied his family and he broke out, he had his own career after the Jackson 5, right? And you know, that speaks to that need for independence, the need to rebel, to stand out as his own person, as his own successful singing career. And so much of his chart is output. He, as an earth person, is strong, 32%, very little fire. All right. And the lack of fire was infused in his singing career because singing and movies and entertainment is all fire. That's all an industry that is, because all industries, all the work that we do, all the hobbies we have, all can be attributed to one of the 5 elements. So the fire element is absolutely singing, dancing, acting, all of it. And so what is wonderful for him was that his career nourished him. But at the same time, the output of energy, almost 60% of his chart is metal. And this is, you know, when we look at the cycle of relating in the 5 elements, you've got him as an earth person is being asked to give to this excessive amount of metal in his chart. Okay. It's almost like a dad who's got 20 kids, literally like that. It's like your job is never done. You are constantly in output mode. And with, again, very little fire nourishing him and giving him support and stability. Water, what comes from metal, is extremely weak. So that the metal, that dominant element, is so concentrated in here. After that, we've got wood, which is his career, also extremely weak at 6%. Now, just because the element that represents romance, marriage, and money is only 3% doesn't mean that he's poor and without love. Just like it doesn't mean that because his career is at 6% that he doesn't have a career. It just means that all of the energy in this very special chart, which I would say is a fake follow child, fake follow offspring, because it doesn't qualify. Why? Because you would need a full metal trio in his chart and no enemy element, which is fire. So in some ways, his career, it challenged the pattern of his chart. Okay. And so this was not someone who had an easy life. He's born in the year of the dog, which is like an overarching personality for him. And this speaks of somebody who is loyal, somebody who has work ethic and life ethic, someone who stands up for the underdog, somebody who wants to create a fantasy land to bring children to experience the childhood that he didn't have, right? So I wanted to look at his different luck cycles because according to Bazi Chinese astrology, also known as 4 pillars astrology, your luck cycle comes along dependent on your birthday and time, and it brings in an element and a zodiac animal that can all of a sudden make your life take off. Oh my God, look at this. My life is happening. It, in the same way, can tank it. This is where you got cancer. This is where the divorce happened. Okay. So if you're interested in your own Bazi Chinese astrology and are curious, I do both a oral chart where we sit down and for an hour I talk to you about your chart. And my favorite is the written chart. It's more money, but it's an investment because you now have a written form. It's a PDF file full of everything, your relationships, your health, your wealth, why life has gone the way it has and where it is going, right? And what is your life purpose? There's so much that you get out of your reading. And even the written chart, I do a 30-minute Q&A with you. And these are wonderful. I have met so many of my subscribers and so many other people around the world in these last few years of doing the channel. And I have loved learning how Bazi Astrology, from what I see, translates into the life you're living. So consider that and look in the description for the links to your chart. All right, more about Michael. We're going to go through his luck cycles so you can see how this unravels and how it unfolds. All right, so we remember his chart is special. And it is, his earth element is feeble, right? Due to the fact that there is this excessive metal. And the metal pattern is strong until the day of his death when a full fire trio begins to challenge it. So before then, all right, which was 2009, in 1961, at the age of 3, he moved into his first luck cycle of a yin metal rooster. It mirrors his hour. It is like a boom, time to go, ages 3 to 12, Jackson 5, let's do it. Let's make this happen. And that was this time. It was a magnification of his hour. His career takes off with his brothers, and this is a time that speaks of action, of ingenuity, of brilliance, of smarts, precocious, a bit of a daredevil, a bit of a rebellious kid, and so intuitive. Just having such an innate sense of knowing what he is making, what he is doing, his craft, his art. Then at the age of 13 to 22, right? And this is a real transition time. This was ruled by Yang Water Dog. And this period really highlighted his relationship and the influence of his father. All right. And I remember vaguely, in tabloid news, as much as that can be believed or not, that the father was known to be, let's just say, not the easiest man. So his father was very much influencing him. There is some dating going on here. There is health issues possibly. And also that he's beginning to make money for himself. And this is really where he comes into a sense of knowing. This is who I am, independent, confident, magnetic, attracting people to him in the industry that are going to support him in his work. And they continued verve of being productive, active, and creating with that genius of his. There's also a little mention of his mother and a little mention of some legal things that had to be tended to as he's signing contracts and making, with record labels and whatnot. 1981, he comes into a yin water pig. Okay. Now, remember his pattern, because a pattern, when it is broken, or the day master gives up, is when life ends for any of us. Okay. So when we backtrack, the first luck cycle, double metal, perfect, because we want what? We want the pattern supported. Next comes a water earth, which was the yang water dog. Okay. And what does that bring? That brings earth, which is his own element, which is great. That gives him some support. It motivates and feeds the metal. Awesome. The water also is interesting because it gives the water now, or the metal now, something to do. Now we've got his chart is far more engaged and it doesn't feel so stuck on this one element. This is good. This is movement. We like this. Now, this period, 23 to 32, starting in 1981, is a yin water pig. The pig is yang water and wood. So what this is doing, it's all about now his chart, his pattern of metal, what it's making. Okay. This is a very dynamic time, but it's risky because there is no earth now supporting him or the pattern. Okay. So this period of his life is about massive accumulation of wealth coming in directly and indirectly. It is about marriages and romances and affairs. It's about the way that his career was shape-shifting and how it was challenging him. That it was travel. It's this vibrancy of his life right now. And in a lot of ways, at that young age of 23 to 32, it was like really kind of the pinnacle of his life. And then we come to 1991, ages 33 to 42. This is a continuation of, this is now Yang Wood Rat, which all but mirrors his life pillar, which speaks that his biggest relationships in his life, his mother and his wives or loves. Those are his most important relationships in his life. This life is one that is, if nothing else, it is all about the accumulation of wealth, property, travel, and also his health and well-being. That is what Michael came into this earth to have, this experience, this relationship with money. Now, this is an interesting thing. Money, I always, when I'm doing my work, I remind God, my spirit guides, the universe, that in this 3D plane that we live in that's becoming more 5D, money is a commodity that is needed. And so I always say with my prayers, please give me the work in which I can serve humanity in the work that I do. But also remember that I have to thrive. I don't need wealth necessarily, but I want to live a comfortable enough life. So please remember that. And for him, that really was his signature. I came into this life to do what? To amass a fortune. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in this position, but if you've never had money and then you suddenly get money, you will understand this. Having money is a responsibility. If you have as much as he had, you have to trust a lot of people to manage your money wisely and not take advantage of you, right? There's a lot of nuances to having wealth. And I think for many of us, we kind of fantasize and glorify it, but it's not always the most positive of things. It's a necessary thing. Yeah. So with that being said, his relationship to his money and his wealth was very dominant during this period, 1991 to 2001. And with this were challenges to his career. Now, I didn't look up when the trial took place about the kids. I'm not sure if it was during this luck cycle or the next one. But this was a challenging time for him. And within that period, 1991 to 2001, there is a lot of shifting pieces and parts. He's continuing to thrive, be married, have marriages, prosper, all of these things. We get to his last luck cycle, 2001. Now, remember, he's gone through 20 years now of his pattern of metal being managed, like it's active, right? It's active. So, and there's nothing nourishing it. That's not a good thing. And over time, it starts to weaken the dominance and cause problems. What's happening now? And you know, I just thought of this. All that excessive metal, and he had vitiligo, where you lose pigment in the skin. Metal, one of the element metal is associated with skin, hair, lungs, I think eyes. But it's interesting that he had an issue with his skin. And I bet that was because of the overinflated amount, nearly 60% metal in his chart. Interesting, that just came to me. All right, so his last luck cycle. Yes, finally the earth returns. And within earth is a little metal and a little water. This is a period of yin, wood, ox. Now the ox rules the month of January. So you can think of the ox as cold earth. It's the earth in the winter time. So what's inside of it? Water, frozen water, and a little metal, okay? The wood speaks of his career, and that being an emphasis. It also speaks of family and home, all of his responsibilities that he's taking care of. And this speaks also, this is ages 43 that would have been to 52, but he died in 2009. This speaks of a time in his life when his sense of identity was kind of like an identity reclamation, an identity crisis, a shift of who am I? And how would Michael Jackson have accepted his age, given that he never had a childhood and he had that tiger-like spark of childlike wonder and innocence? Inside of the ox, there's mention of his creativity, his genius, his rebelliousness, his wealth, his love affairs, travel, and property. Everything in this feels very full. The day he died was the year yin, earth, ox. The month, yang, metal, horse. The day, yin, metal, ox. 3 oxes. The year, the day, and his luck cycle. This is a powerful amount of his own element. And we're going to break this down. First of all, we're going to back up because, where were we? Oh, the day all right, so the day he dies, the month of the horse combines his dog year and his tiger self. The horse in the month that he died pulled all of those three together to make a full fire trio. Okay. That full fire trio, fire is the enemy of metal. Next, in his natal chart is a full metal trio and in the deluxe cycle that he died and the day he died for sure is a semi-metal trio with his rooster and all these ox. There are all of these components going on. When there is so much additional earth, it leads to loneliness and depression. Again, the earth was feeble until now. And the full fire trio is challenging his metal pattern. The day master earth is compromised by 3 oxen that transform from earth to metal and water in all of the different trios and interactions with the other animals in the chart. This is what comes to me. This feels like suffocation with all that earth and the metal of his lungs. With a surging oppressive amount of all of this energy. The earth in this chart becomes weary of giving so much output without support. And again, I decided in this video to skip the trial. I don't want to highlight this darkest time of his life. I want to instead celebrate the fact that this guy was such a rooster in his career, was such a genius in his work, that he had the magnetism and that drive of the tiger, that they have such a lightness about them, a joy about them, and they go so hard. They can go so all in and then completely burn out and stop. But they engage in life with such joy and such optimism. And thank you so much for watching. And I appreciate any comments. If there are other celebrities you're interested in hearing about, please put that in the comments. Thank you so much. And until next time, be well.